Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning to folks in other parts of the world, and welcome to a special episode of The Angry Astronaut. I very seldom do these things on weekdays, but this is a very pressing issue that I think that we have going on right now, and so this is why I am speaking to you. First of all, I'm assuming that I can be heard. Everybody hearing me okay? Looks like everything's going all right in that regard. If you can't hear me, just let me know. Great to see all of you as well. There are two matters that I want to get out of the way. First of all, a positive thing. There's a sweepstakes going on, and it's been announced on Twitter and that sort of thing. I'll give a little bit more information about that at the end. Something less pleasant. I have a medical condition that is going to require surgery. It is not probably not life-threatening or anything along those lines, but it's not going to be pleasant, nor is it going to be inexpensive in a country where you pretty much need really good health insurance in order to cover these things. So any support that I can get at this point in my life and my career would be deeply appreciated. And that is the first and last time that I'm going to talk about that until I'm actually going to be going under the knife, and then I'll make an announcement as to how long I'm probably going to be absent. So in any event, that is the end of that. Thank you again for being here, and let's get to the matter at hand. Oh yeah, please like, please subscribe as always. So the as far as Starliner is concerned, we are getting we are getting into a really serious matter right now. We are definitely struggling, and I say we because anybody who's a fan of space, a fan of space exploration, I've been hard on Starliner, and I'm going to get even harder on them at this point. Boeing has no business sending human beings into space on this piece of garbage, plain and simple. I've said this a number of times, and now I'm actually making a flat out appeal. Anybody who works in the space industry, anybody who works for NASA, anybody who works for anyone associated with NASA, please encourage your bosses, encourage those who make the decisions to dump the Starliner. This is costing the American taxpayer entirely too much money. It's putting our position and our mission with the ISS in danger, and it is creating an absolute travesty for the American space program. It is completely humiliating to us, amongst many other things, to the point where Roscosmos is offering their assistance, probably to their great delight, I would think. Which reminds me very much of what happened the last time that the Russians offered their assistance, and that was when the Challenger exploded. The Russians also expressed their support at that point, essentially to merely as a propaganda effort to demonstrate their superiority. And given the fact that they just had all of that garbage happen with NICA, this could not have happened at a better time for Roscosmos in a propaganda manner to make themselves look superior. Because regardless of what happened with NICA, they got it to the ISS, and they eventually corrected the problem, which is something that we still can't do with Starliner. And as of right now, I think there are still several valves on the system, on the Starliner, that are still stuck. that have still not responded to instructions to be unstuck, that we still have problems in place. By the way, a couple of super chats have come in. Thank you so much, Anton. Thank you so much, Unhinged Space, for your support. Deeply, deeply appreciated. So yeah, it is an extreme method. I mean, it would not be easy to dump Starliner. It really wouldn't. Billions have been invested in this, huge amounts of man hours. All of this effort has been put into this project on the part of very intelligent people. I mean, the people at Boeing, I can't say that they're idiots. All I can say is that they work for idiots. That's the only conclusion I can come to. And so as a result, we need to get rid of this damn thing, and we need to replace it with a human certified Dreamchaser. Give Sierra Nevada the opportunity to compete. They lost out in the initial bid for reasons that we obviously can see now were completely flawed, that were completely, unjustified, and we need to go back to the drawing board and give SNC a chance to give us a human-rated spacecraft to go to the ISS. It's capable of everything that the Starliner can do and more. Plus, it's 75% of the way towards being human-rated, as it is with Sierra Nevada's own money. So with their own investment, they almost have a human-rated vessel as it is. By the way, Mark D, thank you so much for the super chat, the 9 quid. That's very, very kind of you. I really appreciate that. So yeah, what do we do? How do we dump this project? How does NASA do this and deal with the fallout from Boeing and go over to Sierra Nevada? How does what is the whole process that we have to go through? It's easy to say get rid of the Starliner, but we do need something that has its capabilities, its ability to provide reboost to the ISS, for example. There are certain things that the Starliner can do that Crew Dragon cannot. So that being the case, we need the Dreamchaser to replace it. Crew Dragon by itself is not enough. And also, if something happens with Crew Dragon, God forbid, that would be a grim situation as well. By the way, thank you, Craig. I do appreciate what you just did. So yeah, if we dump the contract with Boeing, honestly, I think NASA should sue them. As far as I'm concerned as well. I think the American taxpayers, perhaps a class action suit, something along those lines, because after all, we've paid for this damn thing. We've paid for something that doesn't work. We've paid for something that has, failed again and again and again in spite of the billions that have been invested in it. And frankly, I think that if they ever get it to a point to where they do think that it's going to be working, it's flat out going to be putting astronauts' lives at risk. If we think that the Noica represents a danger to the ISS, I am terrified of what this glitchy piece of garbage could potentially do to the space station. I am really terrified of getting this thing anywhere near that space station, plain and simple. So as a result, I think that if NASA does not take the effort that they should, perhaps it should be an effort on the part of the American taxpayer, something along those lines. Thanks so much, Mark Towner, for your support. Deeply appreciated. So yeah, those are a couple of things that that I've been thinking about. If NASA won't sue them, perhaps some sort of class action suit, something else, because the United States taxpayers and really the world deserves a human-rated vessel other than Crew Dragon to go to the space station. Crew Dragon is a very good spacecraft, but there are some things that it simply cannot do. And Dreamchaser is indeed a better option. I just had a question asked along those lines. And yes, it is, I think, at least in my opinion, it's a better option. We can't say that for certain because it's never gone to orbit, but they should at least get a shot. They should get the opportunity now. This should be over and done with at this point. It's just go to Boeing and tell them, look, guys, you blew your contract. You've had many opportunities. You've had far more money than SpaceX was given to fund your program. You failed. You're done. And at this point, we should be suing them. But, of course, that causes a lot of political issues. By the way, thank you, Cynic in Chief. Thank you so much for that. The complications, obviously, with suing Boeing, as far as NASA is concerned, is the whole thing with the SLS, which is, of course, Boeing. So if you go after Boeing on Starliner, then what's going to happen with the SLS? And therefore, the entire Artemis project. So there's all kinds of just awful, complications involved with this. And, it would be far simpler to just keep trying with Starliner. But you know what? I don't think it's going to be successful. I don't think it's going to be a successful solution. Thank you so much, Brad, for the 5 quid. Very, very generous of you. We really do appreciate that. So, yeah, it's... I've actually met... I've actually met one of the astronauts who's scheduled to go up on this thing. I'm afraid for her. I don't know, I don't know if she's going to be safe. I really have no confidence about it whatsoever. I have every confidence in the Atlas V. I think the Atlas V has proven itself to be a very good rocket. However, the Starliner has proven itself to be exactly the opposite. And we absolutely need to do something about it. Thank you, Robert. Really do appreciate it. Andreas, thank you so much as well. A lot of generous folks today. Thank you. It moves me deeply. So yeah, the Dreamchaser. Did I say Dreamliner at some point? I may have. Sometimes I can't be responsible for what I say every now and then. But yeah, the Dreamchaser is the obvious option. It's the obvious alternative. It's something that SNC has been working on for a long time anyway. As of 2022, they're going to be sending up cargo missions with it, and their intention is to get it human certified by 2026 without any money from NASA, without any support from NASA. So let's give them that support. Give them, $1 billion or 1.5 billion or something to finish that job, and then demand that money in recompense from Boeing for creating such a disastrous piece of junk. It's as simple as that. I know that obviously is going to be a lot more difficult in court, but there has to come a point where the American taxpayer says enough. It's this. They've had so many opportunities. I mean, dear God, look at where this started. Okay, 2019, when I came out with my first serious video about space. That was about the Starliner. It was about that, about the fact that it had failed to reach the appropriate orbit, and I didn't even know about all the other stuff that had come up with it. And as most of us know at this point, once it came back down, NASA demanded that no less than 80 corrective actions be taken by Boeing in order to make this thing flight worthy. And then after all of this time, after more than a year and a half worth of work on this thing, and look at it, we're still looking at months to get it to where, it's even ready for a test flight. And 2022 minimum at this point, and that's just for the test flight. And frankly, if they're lucky and they get one good test flight out of there, I have no confidence whatsoever that it's going to be safe in the long run. Once again, thanks guys for the super chats coming through. So let's see here. Dreamchaser for crew transport, Dragon for resupply with powered landing. Jason, not a bad idea. I would think that there's these two vessels can work very well in concert with one another. The Dreamchaser had an issue. The NASA, of course, was afraid of using something that was similar to the shuttle. I would say that that was their big thing that they were terrified about, was the fact that it was a mini space shuttle, and so that's why they didn't approve it at the time. But the fact of the matter is, Boeing has demonstrated quite definitively at this point that they're just not up to the task. They're not up, and we just absolutely need to do something about that. Bones McCoy, we actually don't know. It's like I say, 2022 maybe. Andrew, thank you so much for the 10 quid. Really do appreciate it. So many of you behind me. I don't know what to say. I'm deeply moved. Thank you. All right. Yeah, redundancy in case there's an issue with Crew Dragon. Definitely, it is a necessity. We definitely need some redundancy, especially now, especially that the Russians are being so confrontational, that they're making false claims about our astronauts, about them sabotaging the ISS. I don't know how much you guys have heard about that. The TOS report that one of our astronauts went. I'm not even going to dignify them by saying who it was, but they're accusing one of our astronauts for having some sort of psychiatric problem and intentionally drilling a hole in the Soyuz spacecraft that created the air leak in 2018. It's absurd, completely absurd, and they're just passing this on as if it's total fact as far as they're concerned. So we can't rely on Russian cooperation for a whole lot longer. The Russians are definitely demonstrating that they're becoming less and less. Once again, it's just it's been very excuse me. Yeah, just this has given the Russians an opportunity to to really unload on us even more than they already have, and we just can't count on them for being a backup. The Soyuz will not be a backup. By the way, a lot of super chats have come through, and I really definitely appreciate that. It's going to make a big difference for me here in the near future. So thank you so much for that. Okay, just real quick here. There's a whole lot of stuff happening here. Starliner Glitch, thank you so much. Abigail, thank you. Thank you, Airborne Bob. Twicker's Bernie, NASA might want to dump Starliner. Dragon can't boost right the ISS to orbit. Correct. Starliner Glitch, Cygnus can currently boost the ISS. That's true. And once the Dreamchaser comes online, it can boost it. That is true. The Cygnus resupply ship, which is, arguably wasteful, but does have some, useful, aspects to it. And at least the damn thing works. It is a good kind of fill-in solution. The Cygnus could do the reboost in the meantime. So yeah, that's a good solution. Twicker's Bernie says, hasn't Dreamchaser been changed to cargo only? Well, actually, Twicker's SNC is actually working on making it human rated right now. Their plan is to put up their own space station by 2026 and to service it exclusively with a human rated Dreamchaser using their own money. Or Dreamchaser, what am I saying? Yeah, is that right? I don't know. I just get myself going sometimes. While sipping tea from a Blue Origin mug. By the way, for those who are not subscribed, that mug and a Boeing mug are going to be a two-stage explosive extravaganza when we hit 90,000 subscribers. So please like, please subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And once again, thanks so much for the support. We'll keep this going here. Roger Freeman, the SLS is not necessary to Artemis. There's a bigger reason to see the Starliner. At least Starliner is a worthy goal. Let's see here, checking in here. Okay, just making sure I'm catching up on my live stream Q&As here from my Discord folks. Did Angry hear a phone call with Boeing where they said there was a water intrusion, made nitric acid, and ate the valves? If that is indeed the case, and who knows, maybe it is. Maybe it was, the rainstorm or something like that. If this ship is that vulnerable to the elements, that's a scary thing. You have it sitting on the pad, and then, a rain squall opens up on it overnight, and then you don't know if it's safe the next day. That's a terrifying thought, to say the least. It's ridiculous. In any event, yeah, it's too much. Let's see. Starliner, what was the likely result if the valves hadn't stuck and Starliner had gone to orbit with NTO leaks? I'm sure there would have been some other malfunction. It would have been a failed test flight, but fortunately, there wouldn't have been anybody on board at the time. Tanushi, thank you so much. Really, really do appreciate it. Really, thanks a lot. The Angry Marines chapter. I like that. I like that thought. Yes, please, like, guys. Let's get those likes in there because we've got some cool stuff coming with this sweepstakes. Something I'm looking forward to talking to you guys as well. So let's see here. Just having a look on some other things, just to make sure. Out-of-house manufacturing, Boeing has so many contractors and some defects and components are not checked. Overall design, I mean, you can have a lot of subcontractors that can create a problem, that sort of thing. So doing more stuff in-house is certainly better and all that. I just don't understand why Boeing even has to use subcontractors with the amount of money that they got paid to do this. It was, well over $1 billion more than what SpaceX got to develop Crew Dragon. So, why couldn't they put their best people on this? Why couldn't they have put their best designers, their best talent on this? Because clearly they didn't. Clearly there had to have been somebody there who just, somewhere in the chain, or a number of people in the chain. I would say probably at the top, who really just don't know what the hell that they're doing and have gotten into that position because of their tenure, or because of their influence, or political clout, or whatever. It's just ridiculous what's been happening lately, and we all need to be sick of this. We all need to, to reach out to whatever contacts we have in the space industry and just simply say enough. Enough. Let's be done with this. Let's move on. We tried this. We gave Boeing more than a fair chance, lots of chances actually. They've made something that isn't going to come through for us, and so as a result, let's be done. Move on and move on to the Dreamchaser, or perhaps something else. Mr. Dodd, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Felix, thank you so much. Really appreciate the support. You guys are awesome. So yeah, it takes something out of me sometimes to as upset as I get about these matters. But yeah, it's I kept watching this whole process, and the news report after news report coming in about how this problem was just getting more and more convoluted with each passing day, each passing hour, and it's finally enough. Let's make a plea to any contacts that we have, any political contacts. Write your congressman, write anybody, and that's connected to this project, and say we're done. As an American taxpayer, we need to stop paying for this. Robert, thank you so much for your support. Really do appreciate it. The original Boeing management in the 20th century were engineers themselves. Very true. Very true, but not the modern ones. Yeah, the white collar don't know the first thing about manufacturing rockets, let alone 737s. That's very true, and that actually, of course, has cost human lives, a lot of human lives. And why are we going to entrust this same company with more lives, with some of the best and brightest in the world? Astronauts, some of the most talented human beings on planet Earth. Why are we going to put their lives at risk in this piece of junk? Enough. I don't know how many times I can say the same thing, but essentially it's what it's got to come down to. We've got to take some sort of action. It has to be come from the political side, or from a legal side, or from NASA, from somewhere. But it has to be done. We have to be through with this, and we just need to move on to something better, move on to something safer, move on to something that is worthy of the human space program. It's as simple as that. It is worthy of NASA. Keith, thank you so much for your support. Really do appreciate it. Thanks very much. So yeah, aside from so legal action, who does that? NASA obviously is the obvious choice, but a class action suit I think would also, as I mentioned before, might be a good idea. Who leads up these class action suits? Well, there's a lot of lawyers out there, perhaps some who are listening to to this broadcast right now, or or that you might know personally, people who are accustomed to class action suits. Perhaps we get something going here, have somebody go pro bono to go on a class action suit and go after after these people. If NASA won't, I mean, NASA is the obvious choice, but if they won't do it, then the American taxpayers need to. We have an obvious alternative with the Dreamchaser. So I think that's definitely something that we need to do. Do I think Boeing employees should resign to create their own company to succeed? To a degree, they sort of have, and that is, although it wasn't intentional, and that company is ULA. That's a lot of ex-Boeing engineers. This company, of course, has a lot of connections to Boeing, but they actually make quality products. I mean, all you have to do is look at the Atlas V that has had no failed missions. They had one rocket that failed to reach the appropriate orbit, but the payload compensated and the mission was still a success. That's a good rocket, So they make quality products, and they have a lot of Boeing engineers. So, maybe they could make something that would be better if not the Dreamchaser. But the Dreamchaser is just the obvious alternative. Perpetual, thank you so much. Really do appreciate it. Thanks very much. The proper venue is Congress, Scott. That's probably true. That's probably true. And you know what? We have a voice. We, at least all Americans, do have a voice. We can, call our congressmen, call our senators, write to them. Usually writing is more effective, and ask them to challenge this whole situation, to demand. Thank you very much, everybody watching. Please like, please subscribe. Really do appreciate how many folks are watching this right now. I'm very moved. Mike, thanks very much. Starship is going to dock with the ISS before Starliner. I think you're right. I think you're probably right. And also, it'd be less dangerous. Excuse me. All right. Let me make sure I get caught up with boy, lots of comments coming in from all over the place. As much as they should be ridiculed, don't overlook the value of the Starliner team. Having discovered this before the launch, it sounds like engineering and specification problem. Last time around, it was borderline gross incompetence for a vehicle that was supposed to carry a crew within months. Diligent testing works. Darth, good for you, man, to stand up for him. Good for you to stand up for him, because it's that is a point to be made. They did find the problem before it launched, and that is a good thing, I suppose. Because it would have been another lost spacecraft. But once again, I really doubt that this is ever going to be a viable spacecraft. I strongly believe that this is a very flawed vessel on a lot of different levels. I think it is just deeply flawed to the core of its design. If it wasn't, they would have been able to get it working by now. That is my opinion in any event. How long to develop the human-rated Dreamchaser Gamer Moon? According to SNC, they are 75% of the way there with appropriate funding. Maybe 2023, somewhere in that vicinity, if they were funded properly. I mean, they're planning on 2026 with their own money. They are a billionaire company, but not billionaires like Elon Musk or anything like that. So this is using their own investment rather to get this big vehicle human rated. But I do believe that since they're 75% of the way there as it is, they probably could get it there by 2023, 24. So in the meantime, we have the Cygnus provide the reboost and other necessities for the ISS, and just use Crew Dragon and Soyuz. It's not a perfect option. It really isn't. If anything goes wrong with Crew Dragon, then that really creates a problem for NASA. In that time frame. But in my opinion, that is a better gamble to take than the gamble of relying on Boeing and on this piece of garbage. That's just really my opinion. Wow, Puerto Alto, thank you so much. Really did appreciate that. Did not cover the benefits of the government contracts getting paid to fail. It'd be like getting an F, but still getting a scholarship at university because I failed so well. Puerto Alto, thank you very much for your support. And yeah, that it is very much like that, isn't it? And it's Tehran, is that correct? Karen is a new angry advocate. Thank you very much for joining up with us. That's part of, you can either join through Patreon as an angry advocate, or you can just hit that little join button at the bottom of the screen. There's two ways to do that now at this point. So thank you very much for doing that. Okay, let's see here. This was the current Starliner. There a live Q&A at 1 p.m. They're all cheery and saying, that's just and yeah, if they were all cheery about that, then that there was something wrong with that conversation. They should have been really like on their knees begging for the forgiveness of the American taxpayer at this point. This is just unforgivable. It really is, and we need to answer it. This needs to be answered at this point. And if going through Congress is the best way, then we the people need to go to Congress and demand a solution. It's as simple as that. The next nightmare, Bezos buys 51% of Boeing space in a new joint venture. Yes, Jude, that would be a disaster. Although who knows? Who knows? Maybe Bezos would get his head in gear. I mean, the guy has done some pretty amazing things in his time. He just can't seem to make a successful space company. That's all, or at least something that does anything all that quickly. But this isn't about them. This is definitely about Boeing and their failure. Wasn't Starliner going to launch until NICA upset the ISS? Boeing took longer to take it back to the hangar, ran some checks. Without NOICA, they might have launched. Yeah, who knows? The fact of the matter is that we had another pretty cataclysmic failure with this spacecraft prior to it launching, which required everything that's happened up to this point, and is probably going to delay any meaningful test flight of this vehicle until 2022. And in my opinion, if they do go forward with Starliner, which I think they need to not do, but if they do that at this point, and then they need to do 2 unmanned test flights to prove themselves. They need to fly this thing twice at Boeing's expense to prove that it actually works. Easy peasy. Thank you for being an angry advocate. Really do appreciate it. Maxter, thank you for your support. What does Boeing Starliner's issues bode for Boeing Orion? Will that be a piece of junk too? Well, the Orion is not actually a Boeing product. The Orion is actually the product of a different company. And now all of a sudden I'm forgetting. Is it Northrop? In any event, it's not Boeing. So that's one positive thing. The Orion has flown to space on a successful test flight. It actually did that years and years ago. And the test flight, it completed almost a complete orbit, splashed down successfully, and was recovered. The Orion is actually in very good shape and ready for Artemis. If it just had a rocket to take it, it would be ready to go. So yeah. that is the case with the Orion. I think that we can have a lot of confidence with that one. Thank you, Johnny Spacer. Lockheed. Okay, so positive opinions on the Dynetics. Okay, Bill Moon, thank you very much. Really do appreciate that. The question on Dynetics, I'll answer that perhaps in a future video. It hasn't. No, it's still sitting there, and it hasn't changed. Because the mass issue has been resolved. I can't talk about my sources in that regard. I'm not going to reveal, how I know that. All I can say is that the problem the whole mass issue has been resolved with Dynetics, and they are pushing forward with Appendix N of the HLS contract, and I wish them the best of luck. Actually, I think it's an innovative lander. Okay. So let's see here. Just keep going here. Avi Loeb wrote about using the light sail system. Extraterrestrial, yes. Anton, yeah, just off topic real quick. Anybody who hasn't read Extraterrestrial by Avi Loeb, please do so. Definitely, please do so. Okay, according to Boeing, the valves failed because of this. The valves leak the oxidizer nitrogen tetroxide, which is considered normal. This was an atmospheric moisture in the lines that would have sealed from the outside world behind the engines. There was a chemical reaction that made the nitric acid and the corrosion which caused the valves to be sticky. If that is indeed the case, that's a little scary. What that suggests to me is that there's a fundamental design flaw with the valves. If they're that vulnerable to outside influence, to corrosion and other environmental impacts that can make them sticky, can make them fail, that sort of thing, then how can we know that this thing is going to be safe in the future if there's such a key component of this vessel is vulnerable to the elements? It sounds a lot like Challenger to me. It sounds like those O-rings. Excuse me, kind of sounds like that situation where the O-rings were only safe at a certain temperature, and if it ever got into different levels of if it ever got too cold or whatever, then it was then there was going to be disaster. That sounds, if the valves are indeed that vulnerable to environmental conditions, then that is that sounds real similar, and that sounds like something we should not be investing in. I really don't think so. Catching the Starship upper stage is a good idea. Don't know. We've never tried it. I think it's an interesting concept. I mean, I think the concept of just having landing legs is a tried and true process, and why change that? But in any event, that's kind of off topic. But if they can do it, why not give it a shot? It's still with Starship, we're talking about something that's a little bit further out, in terms of what we're expecting. Starliner is supposed to be taking human beings into space last year or before that even. And whereas Starship, only just recently won a contract to take humans to the moon. So there's still a lot of development time to go with Starship and Lunar Starship before we get to that point. Okay. The O-rings issues were a known risk. That's true. It was NASA's fault, and that's another thing that scares me, right? That there's a design issue. That there's a flaw with the Starliner, and then all of a sudden there's a rainstorm one day, and it's like, in order to make sure that this thing is safe, we have to do a thorough engineering check, which is going to take a week or two or a month or something like that to make sure that it's safe. And instead of doing that, they decide to press the button rather than hold up the launch for another month or something like that. What if we have a repeat of history? If you have a vehicle that is that vulnerable to the elements, that's just way too dangerous. Dilbertson, thank you for the 20 quid. Wow, that's very good. Thank you. Appreciate the generosity. Is there a future 10 years plus where SpaceX buys Boeing or some parts of it? Could be. I mean, if Elon gets rich enough, I just don't know if he would see the value in it. I think he likes building things from the ground up more so, and also the people that he hires, the engineers that he hires. He likes talent that comes from outside the industry a lot. He hires engineers that may have never designed a rocket in their lives just to get, a more innovative approach to things. So it's pretty interesting indeed. 13 out of 24 froze, half of the 20 were redundant. Only one was the oxidizer that failed. Okay, so who knows? Yeah, like I say, I mean, it's hard to say even what the straight story is yet. I mean, it's probably going to take a little while before we really get the truth, before we get a comprehensive rundown on everything that's going on. The extremes it would have to endure in space as gamer moon, it could have caused things of magnitude worse, especially on the thrusters. Yeah, that's the case. It's that's the point I guess I'm trying to make, is that if a rainstorm or whatever caused all of these things to fall apart, then we may be looking at something that just has a deep fundamental design flaw, and if it does, then it just needs to be out the door. Can SpaceX make an adapter to fly the Orion to the moon if SLS has issues? There's been an argument about that. The short answer is maybe with Falcon Heavy. Of course, an obvious way would be to put it inside Starship's fairing, but it would be a long time, I think, before Boeing is going, or not Boeing, before NASA is going to approve Starship as human rated for takeoff. For carrying humans into space from the takeoff point. I think that it's going to have to fly a lot before NASA is convinced that it's going to be, before it's looked as being safe, in my opinion. Let's see here. Okay, just making sure that we got. All right, we definitely have more folks coming in. Falcon Heavy capable of the lunar trip. Yeah, David, that is something that a point that was made. Falcon Heavy can get Orion just there barely to the lunar gateway, just barely. It would require some modifications, that sort of thing. It was all, when that was talked about and discussed, it was done very, like there's a lot of cautionary stuff thrown in there, like as if Bridenstine, when he made that announcement, he was really uncomfortable even saying it, addressing his engineers and that sort of thing. I don't know if all of them were convinced that Falcon Heavy can take Orion all the way. And that's one of the problems with Orion. It's so heavy. It's such a big, heavy ship compared to what is really necessary to go to the moon. And that is unfortunate. Of course, it's because Orion wasn't even supposed to go to the moon originally. Originally, it was supposed to be a multifunctional craft for traveling to lots of different destinations in the solar system, not just here. David, thank you. Let's see one here. Why couldn't the Dragon boost the station with the Super Dracos? According to what I have read, David, the fuel for the Super Dracos is exhausted by the time it reaches the ISS. The Crew Dragon does not have sufficient fuel once it reaches the ISS. It's a design issue with it. So yeah, it is not capable of reboost. So yeah, it's an unfortunate aspect of it, and why we need more than one human rated system. Ground Starliner forever, says Dante. Thank you very much. Absolutely, yeah, Starliner crew. Yeah. It's I wouldn't want to be amongst the first crew on that ship. Not at all. Thank you, Saturn Man. Really do appreciate it. A lot of folks jumping on board to help out today. Thanks. You guys are awesome. You're the best in the world. I'll tell you. Thanks very much. Pull the shuttles out of the museum, put them on top of the super heavy. Only the best designs survive Darwin. That's a very good point, Foom. Very good point. And that's Darwinian logic for you right there. And I think that it's perfectly legitimate for this. This is a vessel that should just simply go extinct because it's proven itself unworthy of survival, and I mean, we're talking about something that isn't alive here, obviously, but after so many failures, it really should no longer survive what I think should be a very exacting process on the part of NASA. And it is exacting, I suppose. That's why astronauts haven't gone up on it yet, but there should be a part of this exacting process that says fail too many times and you're done. Fail too many times and you lose the damn contract and you give us our money back. Why does that not work for NASA? It should, so why doesn't it? Bridenstine said during the Dragon launch, any of the astronauts felt uncomfortable as they could step down. Yeah, astronauts have full faith in Starliner. Boy, Blue Arrow, I don't know. I really don't know. What I do know is astronauts are fearless. They're fearless explorers of the unknown and prepared to give their lives always. So I think that they'll if NASA tells them that it's safe, then they're going to go for it. It's as simple as that because that's the way astronauts are. They're very, very brave people. Jim Watari, thank you so much for your support. Kate, thank you so much for your support. He's familiar with Eric Berger on Twitter. Apparently, he's spoken to BO employees who were mortified at the recent. Is that right? Very interesting. Yeah, I'd be interested. I've read some of Eric Berger. I didn't see that, so I'll have to go back and check on that. Mike, thank you very much. How much would it cost NASA to pay SpaceX to design Dragon 2.0 capable of reboost? Probably the fastest option at this point. It's hard to say because Crew Dragon would need to carry additional fuel. So are we talking about drop tanks? Are we talking about it would need to be heavier, it would need to be bigger, or it would need to have, some place to put that extra fuel. Where would that go? Would it go in the trunk maybe or something like that, in which case it carries less cargo? Where does it go? So that is a tough question on Crew Dragon. I still believe that, that Dreamchaser is the best option simply because it is designed for ISS reboost. And it's heading towards being human rated anyway. So that continues to be my best option. But I think we should be open to any possibilities. Neil, thank you so much. Really do appreciate the support. And Johnny Spacer, thank you so much. Governments tend to ignore the sunk cost fallacy. Yeah, they do, don't they? It really is. It really just. It just aggravates the hell out of me, let me tell you. There has to come a point. There has to come a point when NASA, when the American taxpayer, when everybody says enough, just enough of this, and let's move on. Let's move on to something better. Give somebody else a chance. Let's, put this back up for bid. Let's do something because our confidence, I think anybody's confidence at this point in Boeing and in Starliner should be rock bottom right now, and I think it should take a lot of time before they can recover any confidence whatsoever. So during that time, we need another option, plain and simple. Falcon Heavy Crew Dragon instead of SLS plus Orion. Yeah. Melstar wants to go to Mars. Hey, Melvin, thank you so much for your support. The Crew Dragon is incapable of landing on the moon. And now, as far as docking with the Lunar Gateway, the problem with Crew Dragon is it doesn't have enough life support capabilities to last that long. It can't go out to the LG gate and dock for 30 days or however long that they intend for it to dock and come back. The Crew Dragon does not have that life support capability. So that's the drawback of using it as a lunar vessel currently. Now, a modified one, maybe. Yeah, perhaps so. let's see, focused on Starship with Crew Rate and Intuitive Forays. Yeah, that's the thing. That's where SpaceX has their efforts focused right now. Anyway, is on a Starship. Just checking up with the Discord folks as well. Second scary part, the Boeing official said this disabled both the orbital maneuvering system and the reaction control system, since these valves were used on both systems and failed on both. Holy dear God. Thank you, Lord Michael, for telling us about that. Oh my Lord. What a potential cluster that would have been. You would think that Boeing had forgotten that SpaceX, the Dragon test explosion, it was the Starliner crew. I'd be backing out, ground sound there forever. Yeah, wow, that's a scary thing there. I didn't catch that one. Desert Sage. Oh, hello. Well, welcome to the program. Really do appreciate it. The Intuitive Machines moon mission. In the Intuitive Machines, actually that's a cool one. I'm going to be making a video about that simply because I've got the Space Bit, the folks with the Spider rovers on the moon. They're sending a mission on the Intuitive Machines mission as well. So they're sending up two missions actually. One for the that's going up on the Vulcan when the Vulcan finally gets functional, and then the other one that is going up on the Intuitive Machines launch. So there's a lot going on that, but I'm very interested in it, definitely. Put a tank and engines in the trunk. You only need to reboost every once in a while. Do a big boost, and you're good for a year or two. Good point, Dante. Yeah. Desert says, yeah, never getting a Starliner. I have kids. Yeah, that is indeed the case. I'd be really hesitant to as well. As much as I would love to go to space under so many circumstances, I'd be very hesitant to. I'd be unwilling actually to go up in Starliner. I think that the risk, to my family, to my children, would not be that would not be a good thing at all. And that's not something I'm going to say on a regular basis about going to space. I would love to go to space. I would love, under just about any circumstance, to go to space. And yet, Boeing has proven themselves to be way less than competent right now. And they need to go back to doing something else, or just a complete, a complete top to bottom reorganization of their company until they find where their problems lie. Because clearly they have serious design issues, not only with spacecraft, but obviously with the Supermax aircraft as well, and the lives that thing tragically has taken. They really need to do something about that at this point. They should have done something about it a long time ago. So SpaceX is leading us up and away. Hey, SpaceX, how are you doing? So yeah, that is a good point. I mean, SpaceX once again, talking about taking us out of not only this particular situation. Thank God that we have Crew Dragon. Otherwise, we would still be relying on Soyuz to even get us to the ISS. Thank God that they're there. And also, Elon is offering to solve the problem that currently exists with Artemis and the whole spacesuit issue, which, by the way, I'm coming out with a recorded video tomorrow on that topic. So get ready. I've got something I'm going to be doing on the spacesuit situation, and in a personal appeal I'll be making to Elon Musk. First time ever. I don't think he watches my channel, but what I do know that some people at SpaceX do. So I'm going to make a personal appeal to Elon tomorrow about the whole spacesuit thing. So stay tuned for that. Foom says, I want SpaceBot spiders. Yeah. Spacebit. Yeah, that's thank you, Foom, for the super chat. And yeah, those spider rovers are neat, and they've proven themselves to be really quite amazing. The alpaca, somebody asked about that. Spaceship Mania. The link is in the description. Go to Spaceship Mania and use the code ANGRY15. ANGRY15 for a 15% discount. But that's the company that made this as well. This and this this one. The Spaceship Mania is an amazing 3D modeler. This guy makes some fantastic spacecraft, but he made this one for me personally. One of the most generous things anybody's done for me. It was awesome, very awesome. So yeah, Spaceship Mania in the description. Check it out. Angry 15. Use that Angry 15 code for the 15% discount. Pinned at the top of the chat as well, thanks to our friend ASN over in Yorkshire. Thank you so much for your help as always. Neighbor works on Starliner, sad for the team and US. I'm so sorry to hear that, Matthew. I really am. I mean, I'm sorry for anybody who's at Boeing, who is in this state of obvious frustration, probably deep concern for their jobs, for their futures, for their families, all of this thing. I'm not, insensitive to them. There's got to be plenty of very talented people on that team. There's just got to be some breakdown in the structure. There has to be something screwed up in there. Maybe they got a directive from the top saying that they had to make it for a certain amount of money, or with certain cost-cutting measures in place, or something else. Who knows what? But something has gone amiss in this entire process, and I don't think it's ever going to go straight. I really don't. And so it just needs to stop. It absolutely needs to be brought to an end. I've got about another 5 minutes. So I'm just going to take a couple of quick questions, and then I'm just going to make then I have an announcement at the end, as I said at the beginning. So, all right. Let's see, Boeing's still better than Blue Origin. Well, there's an argument to be made there, because they have actually gotten things to orbit and Blue Origin has not. It really is amazing. I actually watched an in-depth documentary about Jeff Bezos and everything that he's accomplished in his life. And it is astonishing to me that after all these years, since he created Blue Origin, that he still hasn't reached orbit. How are you so successful in so many other things and so inept at this one last issue? How does that happen? How does it happen? And by the way, be ready for them to take this to the next level legally, which would be to federal court. That's the next place that they'll take this, beyond the GAO. I will be shocked if they do not. Because Jeff Bezos does not give up on things, and he's not going to give up on this. He won't. He obviously believes that his solution is the best, and he's just going to keep fighting this in court. He's done it before, and he's going to do it again. So get ready for that. I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong. But I've got a feeling that's going to happen. Can they use Starliner as a submarine? Maybe find some kind of practical use for the damn thing. All right, we got 3 minutes left, so I'm going to make the announcement. There is, as a lot of you know, the first ever Angry Sweepstakes, Angry Astronaut Sweepstakes. Link in the description. If you are a subscriber, you can enter for free. So in other words, all you have to do is subscribe, and you enter for free. If you are a Patreon supporter, if already, or if you want to be a new one, then you get additional entries into the drawing. And the supporters who join through YouTube, you all get additional entries if you go through that route. It's not like you get a ton of additional entries. Everybody gets a fair shot, is how I look at this. I gave a little bit of extra benefit to the folks who support me on Patreon, because I think they deserve it. But I'd like every subscriber to have a chance. There's over $200 in merchandise, plus some special swag from Axiom Space. They have decided to join us on this sweepstakes, and they're putting some of their own merch into the hopper here as part of this sweepstakes. So this is going to be some awesome stuff. I am very, very excited about this, and it ends on September 10th. September 10th is the deadline, so make sure that you get yourself signed up for those sweepstakes. Subscribe and sign up if you're a Patreon supporter. All the instructions are in there on what to do in order to get the extra entry, so don't worry about that. And you know, we're definitely there. Why do I think journalists are always so nice in their questions? That will be my last one. You know, I think it's because they're afraid of getting thrown out of the room. I think that they're concerned that if they get, you know, if they go after, you know, NASA aggressively or something like that, they're not going to get to enter the room and ask questions next time, which makes no sense. That makes no sense because journalists are usually very, very aggressive, you know, against politicians, against, you know, corporate leaders, other people who are under fire for various scandals, various things that have gone wrong. Why are they not treating Boeing with the same level of, you know, criticism? They should be hammering them every bit as hard as they would hammer a politician because they're doing the same thing, which is waste taxpayer money. And that's where I'm going to go ahead and close with that statement. So once again, guys, thank you so much for being a part of this. Make sure to sign up for the sweepstakes. I deeply appreciate everybody's support. All the super chats, all the folks who have joined up as angry advocates, everybody out there who supports my channel and keeps me afloat. You guys are the best. So until NASA finally takes the steps that they need to, or if not NASA, somebody else takes the steps that need to be taken to dump Starliner, to get rid of this deeply flawed piece of garbage so that we can send our astronauts to the ISS in safety and know that our taxpayer money has been well spent. Until that moment arrives, I urge all of you to stay angry about space.